from Italy to Mexico to Japan and Romania. Here is a series of scary places to visit around the world, including forests and medieval castles. If you have always been attracted to thrill and mystery, you should definitely visit these very special places. This is the scariest and most mysterious places in the world. Number 1. The Gates of Hell, Turkmenistan. The gaseous crater Darvaza, known as the Gates of Hell, is in perpetual eruption and is over 100 meters deep. But how on earth did it open up? Well, in 1971, some Soviet geologists placed a drilling platform there in search of oil. The ground beneath the platform collapsed, plunging into a cavern filled with natural gas and swallowing all of the scientists' equipment, who lit the fire hoping to consume all the natural gas. Number 2. The Suicide Forest, Japan. Aokigahara is a forest located at the base of Mount Fuji in Japan. The area is infamously known as the Suicide Forest. This is where the largest number of suicides occur in Japan, ranking second in the world after the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. For this very reason, signs in Japanese and English have been placed in the forest urging those who have gone there to commit suicide to seek help from specialists. Number 3. The Stanley Hotel, Colorado. Does this building remind you of anything? This is where Stephen King stayed, who was inspired by the Stanley Hotel for the Overlook Hotel in The Shining. The writer stayed in room 217 when the hotel was almost empty, being the night before the winter closure. Many believe that the Stanley Hotel is haunted. Kitchen staff reported hearing sounds of a party going on in the ballroom, later discovering that the room was deserted. People in the lobby confessed to hearing someone playing the piano in the ballroom, but no one was found sitting at the piano. Employees believe it to be the ghost of Flora, the wife of Freeland O. Stanley, the founder of the hotel, who was known to play piano. And some would also say that on channel 42 of the televisions in the hotel rooms, the same movie would continuously play. Can you guess which movie it was? The Shining. Number 4. The Asylum of Poveglia, Italy. Poveglia is an island in the Venice Lagoon. On the island, all of those sick with the Black Death were brought. The bodies were thrown into a mass grave, where they remained until decomposition. The remains of the corpses can still be found in the ground on the northern part of the island. A psychiatric hospital was later built here, and according to some, a doctor inflicted torture on patients. It is said that the souls of those people still roam inside the long-abandoned facility. Would you like to visit here? I know I wouldn't. Number 5. Hellingly Mental Hospital, England. Hellingly Mental Hospital, located near Hellingly, East Sussex, is an asylum that opened in 1903. Treatments considered the best for the time were applied here. Among those treatments were lobotomies and electroshock. It was closed in 1990 because it was deemed too expensive. In this case, many patients were released with a certificate of fake recovery, leading to an increase of violent acts and street murders. This is said to be one of the most haunted places in England, if not the entire world. Number 6. Edinburgh Castle, Scotland. Edinburgh Castle is a castle dating back to the 7th century, standing on a hill overlooking the city of Edinburgh. 20 years ago, more than 240 researchers surrounded the fortress with sophisticated equipment to detect paranormal phenomena, and all of them reported sightings of ghosts and witnessing eerie and unexplained happenings. That's not all either. Many revealed feeling chills and then being touched and tugged on. This is definitely something you couldn't catch me doing. Number 7. The Death Walk, Bolivia. The route of the Yungas is a communication route of Bolivia. It is about 56 kilometers long and connects La Paz to Coroico. The road is famously known as the Death Trail because of its dangerousness. And here's why. The elevation difference is more than 3,000 meters. It's a narrow roadbed. It's also a route totally lacking guardrails and protections. Fog and precipitation are present almost every day, and between 200 to 300 men die each year in the transit due to running off the road or ground subsidence. On July 24, 1983, more than 100 people died in a single road accident, the most tragic in Bolivian history. In fact, there are many crosses along the route to remember the victims. Number 8. Dracula Castle, Romania. A great classic, Bram Castle, on the border of Transylvania and Wallachia. By all, this fortress is considered the home of Dracula. Bram Stoker, author of the novel Dracula, drew inspiration for the figure of the Count Vampire precisely from a Romanian. Vlad III of Wallachia, a bloodthirsty dictator, was known as the Impaler, since he had all his enemies killed by the technique of impalement. Do you think Dracula is real? Or was he just a part of Stoker's imagination? Number 9. Capela dos Ossos, Portugal. Located in the city of Évora, Capela dos Ossos, as its name implies, is decorated with human bones and skulls. The number of human skeletons is around 5,000. Most of the bones and skulls come from cemeteries and churches in the area, where Franciscan friars were buried. Many of these skulls bear graffiti with the name of the person to whom they belonged. Also found here are 2 dry corpses hanging from a chain, one of which belonged to a child. The entrance plaque read, Nos ossos que aqui estamos pelos vossos esperamos, also meaning, we bones that here stand, yours await. What did you think about these scary places? Are there any places that you'd visit on this list? Let me know in the comments. Number 10. The Bermuda Triangle, Bermuda. As far as mysterious places go, the Bermuda Triangle must be well known. Covering an expanse of 500,000 square miles, the Bermuda Triangle is rumored to be a smack bang in the Atlantic Ocean between Florida, Miami, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. According to legends, over 50 ships and 20 planes have simply vanished into thin air while trying to cross. Only adding to the mystery, countless other vessels have crossed without any incident. Tunnel clouds and super intense electrical forces have been reported by survivors. Conspiracies about the triangle include time travel, tropical cyclones, and of course, alien abduction. Scientists did offer up the more plausible theory of gas blowouts from the ocean floor, but there hasn't been an official explanation yet. Number 11. Hoia Baciu Forest, Romania. Until pictures of what looked like a UFO hovering started circulating back in 1968, Hoia Baciu Forest was still relatively unknown. Nowadays, it is commonly referred to as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania, as many people believe it could be a portal to another dimension. Locals and tourists who pass through have previously reported nausea, rashes, and unexplained anxiety. It goes without saying that the unnerving atmosphere has birthed plenty of ghost stories, with many claiming that this is by far the most haunted forest in the world. Romanians are all too eager to talk about the spirits and ghosts that lurk among the eerily twisted trees. There's a legend about a girl who vanished without a trace, before emerging from the forest 5 years later, with no memory of where she'd been. Since Hoia Baciu was thrust into notoriety after the UFO sighting, You'll also hear rumors about alien encounters and abductions. Number 12. The Tower of London, England. Set in the capital of England, the ominous Tower of London once served as a place of grisly torture and execution. Considered the most haunted place in the UK, the tower is said to be home to tormented spirits who roam its dark stone passageways. Famous figures such as Anne Boleyn and martyred St. Thomas Becket were executed there, not to mention many enemies of the crown who were tortured into insanity before being beheaded. Tales of mysterious happenings and hauntings include a particularly gruesome sighting of Anne Boleyn floating about, carrying her own head. On an even more sinister note, historians believe that King Edward V's two sons were locked up and subsequently killed in the tower by their own uncle, the Duke of Gloucester. Like virtually all mysterious places on Earth, the Tower of London has its own appeal, with tourists lining up for hours to take a tour of its spooky hallways or simply to check out the dazzling collection of crown jewels. Number 13. Area 51, United States. This place is a conspiracy theorist's dream come true. Steeped in mystery, Area 51 is no doubt one of the most peculiar places in the United States. Mainly because regular citizens have absolutely no idea what goes on there. Some will tell you it's a breeding ground for aliens. Others will say it was erected to cover up a UFO crash. There's even been talks of a sprawling weather control station cleverly hidden out of sight. The fact that Area 51 is surrounded by a barren desert landscape with military surveillance isn't exactly quelling those rumors either. It goes without saying that you won't be allowed to enter the site, but tourists still flock there on day tours to pose for selfies with that famous no photography sign. Number 14. Ganjiam Psychiatric Hospital, South Korea. The story of this abandoned psychiatric hospital reads like a textbook plot of a horror film. According to local legend, patients started dying mysteriously at the hospital some 10 years ago, eventually forcing its closure. It is now an abandoned, dirty building with only the most disturbing remnants of its former life, such as rusted wire fences and disintegrating examination chairs. The hospital is famed as one of South Korea's 3 major haunted sites, the others being the Yeonbyeok Haunted House, roamed by ghosts from the Korean War, and the Nulbom Garden, a former restaurant where it's said that you can still hear the sound of dishes being washed in the kitchen. Number 15. Sedlec Ossuary, Czech Republic. The Sedlec Ossuary is a small Roman Catholic chapel in Sedlec, Czech Republic. It also contains the skeletal remains of about 40,000 human beings dispersed throughout the interior in artistically arranged designs. The most notable creations made of human bones are the chandelier in the center of the room and the coat of arms of the Schwarzenbergs, the most blue-blooded of the Bohemian aristocrats. It's difficult not to let your imagination run wild when pondering the sort of sick mind that conceived of things like a chandelier of human bones. But the real motive behind it all is quite prosaic. It was simply a matter of saving space. These bones were freely given from the bodies of devout Roman Catholics all over Europe who clamored to be buried here after the abbot of Sedlec went on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem in 1278 and brought back soil from Golgotha, where Jesus had supposedly been crucified. So many wanted to be buried in Golgotha's soil that the chapel was turned into an ossuary. The remains of the previously buried were dug up and rearranged in the 16th century, a practical if somewhat disquieting way to use limited burial space in a thrifty way. Number 16. Akadesawa Fetish Market, Togo. As the largest fetish market in the world, Akadesawa Fetish Market in Lomé, Togo is a haven for voodoo practitioners. By fetish, I'm referring to talismans that are used in voodoo healing. Things like crocodile heads, chimpanzee hands, cobras, and bones. These things are sold as ingredients to be ground up, mixed with herbs, and cooked over a fire. The resulting black powder is rubbed into a cut on the patient's chest, hopefully curing them of whatever brought them there in the first place. This makes the market, in effect, one giant pharmacy, and while there's nothing bad about that, it may be difficult to keep your cool amidst tables piled with the desiccating, grinning heads of cheetahs and hyenas or unidentifiable, vaguely humanoid skulls laid out like melons at the local grocer's. Number 17. La Isla de las Muñecas, Mexico. La Isla de las Muñecas, also known as the Island of the Dolls, is the stunningly morbid creation of a man named Don Julian Santana, who lived as a hermit on an island for some 50-odd years until his death in 2001. During his time there he amassed an impressively ghastly collection of dismembered, broken dolls and hung them on tree branches around the island, where they hang to this day, like sacrifices. It looks cruel and disturbing, but the backstory is surprisingly sweet. Although there were several versions of the legend, they all converge upon the idea that Don Julian dedicated the dolls to the spirit of a little girl who had drowned in the canal. Whether he communicated with the spirit, or whether the drowned girl had actually existed, are all points of contention, but Don just wanted to give his ghostly friend some toys to play with. Number 18. Battleship Island, Japan. Hashima Island, also known as Gunkanjima, is a 60,000 square meter cluster of concrete ruins in the sea by Nagasaki, Japan. In the 1950s, it was the bustling home of thousands of coal mine workers. Hashima Island has been abandoned since 1974 when the coal mines shut down. There's always something a bit sinister about deserted islands. Isolation is a double-edged sword. Being surrounded by sea might mean an excellent vacation getaway or getting stranded with no place to run. A visit to Hashima Island feels like the latter. The dilapidated buildings and abandoned belongings of the former coal miners make this place feel like the most desolate island on Earth. Although Hashima was entirely closed off until 2009, travelers are now allowed to visit. Number 19. Chernobyl Amusement Park, Ukraine. Deserted amusement parks can be creepy enough, but at Chernobyl Amusement Park, in the ghost town of Pripyat, Ukraine, the reason for abandonment makes the place not only creepy, but hazardous. The 1986 nuclear disaster at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant closed down the plant and caused the evacuation of the entire city, rendering this amusement park useless. While the people have long since departed, the radiation remains. Number 20. The Catacombs, France. Fancy descending under the streets of Paris and wandering through the catacombs, an eerie network of old caves and tunnels lined with the bones of the dead. Would you want to visit? Now you can, at one of Paris' creepiest attractions, home to the bones of roughly 6 million people and deeper underground than the metro and the sewer systems. The catacombs were created to accommodate overflowing 18th century cemeteries. Don't veer off the tourist trail though. In the summer of 2017, 2 teenagers were lost in the cavernous network for 3 days. Before we get to the last one, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and don't forget to share. Number 21. Bell Witch Cave, Tennessee. The spirit of Southern Gothic can be embraced with a spine-tingling visit to the Bell Witch Cave, the supposed one-time home of an evil witch who plagued the Bell family of Tennessee during the 1800s. This malevolent spirit allegedly poisoned and killed Patriarch John Bell, wreaking havoc on his family, particularly his daughter Betsy. It's said the witch was a vengeful neighbor, Kate Batts. The story is a local legend in Tennessee, and it's been immortalized in novels and on screen. Rumor has it that President Andrew Jackson visited the property, only to be scared away. If you're in the mood for some ghost hunting, you can visit John Bell's cabin and delve into the cave. Who knows? Perhaps the witch still frequents this creepy cavern.